UFC Fight Night Song versus Simone is this weekend. I'm going to give you a full card prediction and breakdown of the prelims to the main event. We're going to run through this one. This card's kind of okay. I'm not super excited about it. Probably why this video is coming out a little bit later. I wasn't too eager to get this one done in all honesty. But start off the card, we have Hailey Cowan versus Jamey-Lyn Horth, who is making her debut, I believe. For this matchup, Hailey Cowan, 7-2. 31 years of age, 69 inches of reach. Horth, 5-0, 33 years of age, 67 inches of reach. Cowan will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Cowan, her last fight was on the Contender Series split decision win there. I would say the last couple of fights because I believe she was scheduled to take on, Ailin Perez and Tamir Vidal, and they both got canceled recently. So she's now on her third fight this year. We'll see if the fight ends up happening. I wouldn't mind one of these women's fights going off the card, but I'm going to go with Hailey Cowan. I think she's really athletic. She's 31 years old, so she's still decently young. I believe she's still kind of newer to the sport. I don't remember when did she actually start. So she started in 2018 professionally, 2017 within the amateur circuit there. But yeah, I'm going to go with Hailey Cowan. Jamey-Lyn Horth in her last matchup against Mayra Cantawaria. She did decent on the ground. Like, she has decent technique, but she's one of those fighters where she just punches out of range. She didn't necessarily get a takedown. I think she got one takedown where she kind of just dragged her to the ground. Hailey Cowan's a pretty big fighter for that division, so I think Hailey Cowan's just going to be strong enough to defend some of the takedowns. I think she'll be a little bit better on the feet, and that's who I'm going to side with here. Maybe 29-28 decision for Hailey Cowan here. I believe she is an underdog, right? Oh, no, it's near even. Tapology has it favored for Horth in this one. So, yeah, I'm going to go with Cowan by decision. Up the card, we have Brian Kelleher versus Journey Newson. Kelleher, 24-14, 36 years of age, 64 inches of reach. Newson, 10-4, 34 years of age, 67.5 inches of reach. Newson will have a 3.5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. For Brian Kelleher, his last couple wins and losses, I'm going to run through this real quick because I think it's a little bit interesting here. His last couple losses were to Mario Batista, who's actually looking really good right now. He started out a little bit slower, but then started putting it on. He's definitely bringing everything together in his fights. Lost to Umar Nurmagomedov, beat Kevin Croom, beat Domingo Pilarte, lost to Ricky Simone, lost to Cody Stamann. So Cody Stamann's a decent fighter. I wouldn't say he's bad, but he's pretty solid. Lost to Montel Jackson. He's pretty solid. Just knocked out Ronnie Yaya. Lost to John Lineker. Lost to Marlon Vera. So he's lost to some pretty solid, if not some of the upper echelon fighters of the division. So the guys he's beating: Kevin Croom, Domingo Pilarte, Ray Rodriguez, Hunter Azur, Ode Osborne. And Ode Osborne's pretty solid as well. But for Journey Newsom, the guys he's losing to: Sergey Morozov, who's a solid fighter for sure. Beat Fernie Garcia, which is an all right win. Lost to Randy Costa. Lost to Domingo Pilarte, who I believe, it was a no contest, so I won't really go over that one too much. But he did lose to Ricardo Ramos. I mean, Journey Newsom's the kind of guy that you'll see Brian Kelleher win. Tapology agrees with me here. 83% for Kelleher in this matchup. Yeah, I'm going to go with Kelleher. Probably by a decision in this one. I think I trust him to get a decision. I don't know if he'll necessarily get the finish in this one. So, Brian Kelleher by decision. Up the card, we have Stephanie Egger versus Irina Alekseeva. Egger. Did I say Stephanie Egger? Yeah, Egger. 8-3, 34 years of age, 68 inches of reach. Alekseeva, 4-1, 32 years of age, 66 inches of reach. Egger will have a 2-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Stephanie Egger. Her last fight was 6 months ago against Ailin Perez. She won by rear naked choke. Irina Alekseeva last fight was in Bellator against Stephanie Page. She beat her 1.5 years ago, so she hasn't been super active. It's almost 33 years old and is not active. Tapology is going with Egger here. I think I agree, probably by submission, in all honesty. I think Alekseeva, unless she made a pretty big jump in her year and a half off, I can just see Egger completely submitting her when the first or second round in this one. Yeah, I'm gonna go Egger. She looked really good against Ailin Perez, minus 300 favorite. I'm gonna go with her here, but you know how these fights go, so take it out with a grain of salt. But I am semi-confident in Egger in this matchup. Up the card, we have Josh Quinlan versus Trey Waters. Quinlan, 6-0, 30 years of age, 72 inches of reach. Waters, 7-1, 28 years of age, 77 inches of reach. Waters will have a 5-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Josh Quinlan's last fight was against Jason Witt. Left hook KO. Before that, I believe he beat Logan Urban on the Contender Series and then popped for steroids. So he was out for like a year or something like that. So no, take that with what you will. He has insane power in his hands. I don't know if he's still on the sauce. He probably is, but very good win in his last match against Jason Witt. Trey Waters won the Contender Series, lost to Gabriel Bonfim, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Gabriel Bonfim is a really good prospect. Beat Jalen Fuller in his last matchup on LFA about a week ago. So he's coming on this fight in short notice, I believe. In that fight against Jalen Fuller, he got hurt really badly in that first round and eventually recovered, but I don't know if I necessarily trust him here. He does keep his arms kind of low, especially after getting rocked. He's keeping his hands really low, so he can't really do that against Josh Quinlan. Josh Quinlan, I think, will just knock him out here in the first round. He's got some insane power. I just think he gets it done. So Josh Quinlan by first round KO. Tapology says the same thing. I don't know if it was first round. I can't really necessarily see here, but yeah, 79% by KO for the people who chose Josh Quinlan. So I agree with that one. Up the card, we have Cody Durden versus Charles Johnson. Cody Durden, 14-4, 32 years of age, 67 inches of reach. Johnson, 13-4, 32 years of age, 70 inches of reach. Johnson will have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I'm going to go with Charles Johnson. Cody Durden is a very solid fighter in the flyweight division. Beat Carlos Mata, who's a decent prospect coming in. I believe he did pop for steroids too and got kicked out of the UFC. Beat JP Bays, which you should. Lost to Muhammad Makayev, which I think he got like flying kneed into like a choke or something. And then beat Erika Lang. So he has some decent wins on his record. Lost to Jimmy Flick as well. Charles Johnson made his debut against Muhammad Makayev. Made it pretty competitive in honesty. Really good defensive grappler and is very good, defensive wrestler and defensive grappler. And is really good on the ground, offensively as well. Beat Zaglas Zumagulov. I believe he probably should have lost that fight. But then after that has been extremely active this year. Has fought, I think, 3 out of the 4 months. He fought in January, fought in February, missed March, and now he's fighting in April. So, so far he's fought in 3 of the last 4 months. If this fight goes through, lost to Ode Osborne by split decision. I think Charles Johnson will be better on the feet here. I think he'll be good defensively against a Cody Durden who likes to use a high pace with his wrestling. I think he's going to be good defensively in the wrestling and the grappling here. I think he might tire out Cody Durden a little bit more. Maybe you'll see a late 3rd round. 2nd round KO, TKO for Charles Johnson here. But I think, in all honesty, it's either a late round TKO or probably a 30-27 win for Charles Johnson here. I think he's going to be good in the defensive wrestling department, and I think he's going to be way better on the feet with the boxing. So, or I'm not necessarily boxing, but I think he'll just be better on the feet in general. I believe he's a Muay Thai guy. Yeah, he trains at Tiger Muay Thai. Yeah, I think he wins this fight, probably by a decision. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's like a late round TKO here for him. Up the card, we have Natan Levy versus Pete Rodriguez. Levy 8-1, 31 years of age, 72 inches of reach. Rodriguez 5-1, 26 years of age, 73 inches of reach. Pete Rodriguez will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I think I am going to go with Pete Rodriguez here. He is kind of a risky underdog, but I'm going to take him plus 225. He's a pretty big underdog in this matchup. I don't mind Natan Levy. I think he's decent. Beat Genaro Valdez. He's a little iffy on the feet, which is why I'm a little worried here. He's kind of open. Pete Rodriguez, last fight, he pretty much just destroyed Mike Jackson, which you should do, honestly, to Mike Jackson. It's just how he is as a fighter. He's just not very good. Jack Della Maddalena, he lost to with a counter left. So take that with what you will. His only couple fights in the UFC, lost to Jack Della Maddalena, and then beat Mike Jackson, destroying him. So he's probably somewhere in the middle here is my guess. But we saw the guys that do lose to Jack Della Maddalena, especially early on, they're actually decent prospects in the UFC. So I think Pete Rodriguez does a good job here. I think he might win this one by KO. Natan Levy is super open on the feet. If he doesn't win by KO, I think you could definitely see this as a 29-28 decision here. But a lot of people are choosing Natan Levy. I'm gonna go with Pete Rodriguez here. 20%, 78% say by KO. I think Pete Rodriguez is actually really good. Has really good boxing on the feet. Natan Levy is pretty open. I trust Pete Rodriguez to get it done. I don't know if I trust him necessarily. We still don't know what he is. He beat and destroyed Mike Jackson, lost to Jack Della Maddalena. We still don't really necessarily know who he is. I guess we'll kind of find that out here, but I think I'm going to go with the underdog here with Pete Rodriguez in this matchup. Up the card, we have Martin Buday versus Jake Collier. Buday 11-1, 31 years of age, 77 inches of reach. Collier 13-8, 34 years of age, 78.5 inches of reach. Collier will have 1.5 inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Martin Buday. His last fight was a split decision win against Lucas Bresky, which he probably should have lost. Beat Chris Barnett. I believe he ground-kneed Chris Barnett, but I think in the second round there's like some weird rule where I don't know if you get grounded knee and then they just take it as a decision. I don't know. It's a weird rule. But he did still end up winning that fight. Jake Collier last fight lost by KO to Chris Barnett. Ended up getting taken to the ground and pretty much beating the hell out of and lost that fight. You know, is what it is, I guess. Lost to Andrei Arlovsky by split decision. Beat Chase Sherman by rear naked choke. I was going to say RNC, but I'm going to go with Martin Buday. I think he keeps it against the fence here. Might try to get a couple takedowns, but I think he just wins this fight, just outpointing Jake Collier, probably against the fence. Maybe a little bit on the feet as well. He's not a bad fighter, but I don't know. I can just see him getting it done against a guy who just lost to Chris Barnett. So I like Chris Barnett, but I don't think he's the... He's not a guy where if you lose to him, it means a good thing. I'll just say that. Like if you lose to Martin Buday, I'm like, okay, you lost to Martin Buday. Martin Buday is a solid fighter, solid unranked fighter at this point in the heavyweight division, but you lose to Chris Barnett, it's a little iffy waters at that point. So I'm gonna go with Martin Buday in this matchup by a decision. Up the card, we have Waldo Cortes-Acosta versus Marcos Rogério de Lima. Cortes-Acosta 9-0, 31 years of age, 78 inches of reach. De Lima 20-8, 37 years of age, 75 inches of reach. Cortes-Acosta with a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Cortes-Acosta has been decently active, especially last year. Won against Danilo Suzar on the Contender Series. 2 months later, fought Jared Van Deer and beat him. 1 month later, won against Chase Sherman. For Rogério de Lima. Won against Andrei Arlovsky by not punching him. He like knocked him down to the ground and then submitted him, but I don't even think the punch landed. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen. He like punched him, didn't land, and then Arlovsky kind of like knocked himself out. I don't understand it. Lost to Blagoy Ivanov by decision, beat Ben Rothwell by KO, beat Maurice Green by decision, and then lost to Alexander Romanov by submission. So I'm going to go with Waldo Cortes-Acosta in this one. I think he's decent on the feet. I think he's pretty solid. Marcos Rogério de Lima. These guys both have really long names. He's almost 38 years old. He's getting up there in age. Obviously, heavyweight's a different story. You can be that old and be decent at fighting. But I'm going to go with Cortes-Acosta. I think he'll be better on the feet. Probably be a little bit quicker. He's looking decent. He's been pretty active. So I'm just going to trust him in this matchup to have at least a somewhat decent chin and not to knock himself out. Be good defensively in the wrestling and grappling. I think he gets this one done on the feet by decision. So I'm going to go Cortes-Acosta by decision. Tapology 59% for Cortes-Acosta. Has a split by KO and decision here, but I do think he does get the decision. 41% for De Lima. So it's a pretty close fight. Slight underdog for this one. So I guess I do get underdog points for this matchup, but I'm going to go with Cortes-Acosta on this one. Up the card, we have Julian Erosa versus Fernando Padilla. Erosa 28-10, 33 years of age, 74.5 inches of reach. Padilla 14-4, 26 years of age and 76 inches of reach. Padilla will have a 1.5 inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Julian Erosa. I think he's a very solid fighter. He's probably he's like in that little area from ranked to unranked. So he's a decent fighter. He kind of just stays in the rankings. He's a really good unranked fighter. Has lost to Alex Caceres in his last matchup 2 months ago. Got KO'd in that one. It was a pretty fun fight. Beat Hakeem Dawodu, which is a good win. Beat Steven Peterson by split decision. So you can take that with what you will. Submitted Charles Jourdain. And then lost to Sungwoo Choi by KO too. So he's very fun fights. But Fernando Padilla, last fight was about, we'll say like 2 years ago, a year and a half, year and 3/4, whatever you want to call it. Last fight was a while ago. He is 26 years old, so maybe he has made some improvements, but I do think Julian Erosa is actually a pretty good fighter, especially in that division. So, especially in the 145-pound division. I think he gets this one done maybe by a decision. I'll say decision. Tapology kind of agrees here. 60% by decision for Erosa with his 87% pick rate. So, I'm going to go with Erosa in this matchup. I just think he gets it done. Padilla, we haven't seen him in 2 years, so he's only 26 years old, so maybe he did make improvements, but I trust Erosa in this matchup to get it done. It only has been 2 months since he's been KO'd too, so keep that in mind as well. But I will trust Erosa here for sure. Up the card, we have Cody Brundage versus Rodolfo Vieira. Brundage, 8-3, 28 years of age, 72 inches of reach. Vieira, 8-2, 33 years of age, 73 inches of reach. Vieira will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Cody Brundage coming off a loss against Michał Oleksiejczuk by KO. Beat Trey beat Dalcha Lugiambula, lost to Nick Maximov, and beat Joseph Cropshot on LFA. I can't say that name, but his 2 losses were pretty decent losses against Michał Oleksiejczuk and Nick Maximov, which I have no idea why he was released from the UFC. But Rodolfo Vieira, last fight was a loss to Chris Curtis. Chris Curtis put up on a pretty good performance there. Chris Curtis has really good takedown defense in general, so I believe I picked Chris Curtis in that matchup. Beat Dustin Stoltzfus, which he's supposed to. Lost to Anthony Hernandez, who's a good fighter himself. And then beat Saparbeg Safarov. I think that's how you say his name. But I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira in this matchup. I think he gets him down to the ground and uses his grappling, ends up submitting. Brundage has actually a decent base with the wrestling. He's a decent fighter all around, I would say. But I don't think he has any perfect area. Rodolfo Vieira is a very good submission jiu-jitsu guy. And I don't think Brundage is going to be able to do well defensively there. I think he ends up getting him to the ground, and I think Vieira ends up submitting him probably by, I think, 2nd round submission as well. As say Brundage will be better on the feet, so I am a little worried there. Brundage can defend some of these takedowns. He might be able to put Vieira in some trouble here, but I think I'm going to go with Rodolfo Vieira in this matchup. Cody Brundage is kind of a sneaky underdog here. It's pretty much high risk, high reward at that point, but I trust Rodolfo Vieira to get this one done by submission, probably like the 2nd round in this matchup. Maybe late first, 2nd round submission. Up the card, we have Caio Borralho versus Michał Oleksiejczuk. Borralho, 13-1, 30 years of age, 75 inches of reach. Oleksiejczuk, 18-5, 28 years of age, 74 inches of reach. Borralho will have a 1-inch reach advantage in this matchup. I am going to go with Caio Borralho in this matchup. His last fight was a win against Makhmudmuradov, which didn't look too impressive in all honesty. It was a decision win, though. Makhmudmuradov's not horrible. He's actually a solid fighter. Beat Armen Petrosyan. Armen Petrosyan's pretty solid as well. And then beat Omar Gadziev by decision as well. Wait, was that one a grounded knee as well? I'm not too sure if I remember how that one ended, actually. I think it was the same card as the... I think we had one card where there was just tons of like grounded knees. I think this might have been it, but I'm not too confident. I'm not gonna be too confident in that one. Michał Oleksiejczuk, his last fight was a win over Cody Brundage. Beat Sam Alvey by KO, which you should. Pretty much destroyed him. Lost to Dustin Jacoby. Beat Shamil Gamzatov by KO. So I'm going to go with Caio Borralho. I think Michał Oleksiejczuk's pretty good on the feet, but I think that's about it. Maybe he might be a little bit decent defensively here, but I think once Borralho gets him to the ground, he's going to be able to control him, maybe get a submission, but I think he's just going to at least be able to control the back, get a dominant position on the ground and win this fight that way. He does train with, or at least trained with, Khamzat Chimaev in the past, so he's definitely fighting some of the better dudes, especially wrestling-wise. So he's definitely going to have some training there, going to be pretty good in the wrestling department, pretty good in the grappling department, as we know. I think he gets this one done. Borralho, 85% picked for Tapology here, 63% by decision. I can see that one too. I think he probably does win this one by decision. Maybe it's 29-28. Maybe Michał Oleksiejczuk hurts him on the feet, and he just shoots in for a takedown, kind of like the Petrosyan one. I think Petrosyan landed a couple good shots in one of the rounds there, but I think Borralho gets him to the ground and controls his back, finds a dominant position, and wins the fight that way. So I'm going to go with Borralho by decision in this matchup. Up the card, we have Yadong Song versus Ricky Simón. Song, 19-7, 25 years of age, 67 inches of reach. Simón, 20-3, 30 years of age, 70 inches of reach. Simón will have a 3-inch reach advantage in this matchup. Song, his last fight was a loss against Corey Sandhagen, Dr. Soppich, with a pretty bad cut, in all honesty, going into the 5th round. I think quite a bit of people had that fight 2-2 going into that 5th round, so he did make it pretty close against one of the better fighters against Corey Sandhagen in that division. You saw Corey Sandhagen pretty much just destroy Marlon Vera, and Song Yadong made it super close with them. So especially in a 5-round fight, made it very close. Beat Marlon Moraes with an uppercut, which Marlon Moraes didn't really have a chin, but Marlon Moraes is still good, at least technically speaking. Julio Arce beat him by KO, and then beat Casey Kenny by split decision. Ricky Simón Beat Jack Shore in his last fight by sub 9 months ago, though. I believe Song fought 6 months ago. Been pretty active there. But Simone, again, beat Shore 9 months ago. Beat Sun Sao probably a year and a half ago. And then beat Brian Kelleher by decision. So he's had some decent wins here. This is probably his biggest matchup against a guy like Yadong Song here. Pretty fun matchup. These guys are both pretty young. Yadong Song's still 25 years old, and he does look really good. Did what he did to Corey Sandhagen, looked pretty impressive there. Has some insane power in his hands. Really good combos on the feet. Really good stand-up. Trains, I believe, at Team Alpha Male. So there's a lot of wrestlers there. He probably has a decent wrestling base. Pretty good defensively as well. Defended some of the takedowns that Corey Sandhagen had against him. Got up immediately. But that was kind of an issue for him when Corey Sandhagen started mixing in the takedowns and started doing the stand-up. That was a little bit of an issue for him. Ricky Simone, I don't necessarily trust him on the feet. He's got some decent power in his hands. He's a pretty strong guy. He's a pretty big dude, especially for that division. I think he might be able to land a couple takedowns here, but I think Yadong Song is going to do a good job defending some of those takedowns and maybe tire out Ricky Simone here. I think Yadong Song having that 1 5-round fight, especially in his last matchup, will have a little bit more experience in this situation. So he's going to be able to with that experience, he's going to be able to go 5 rounds a little bit more easier than a Ricky Simone will. And I think eventually Ricky Simone, having a lot of output, trying to get some of those takedowns, might get hurt on the feet early, trying to go for takedowns, tire out a little bit. But I think Yadong Song, here's the thing with the UFC. They had the names like different and wrong for the longest time. So, and Yadong kind of just rolled off the tongue. Okay, but Yadong Song, I think he has the power. I think he's going to hurt Ricky Simone probably in the 3rd round and probably KO him. Again, with that wrestling base, especially at Team Alpha Male, he's been working a lot probably on that wrestling. Has that experience in 5 rounds. I trust him a little bit more for 5 rounds. I don't think he gets finished early, especially Yadong Song. I don't think he gets finished at all in this matchup. I think in 5 rounds, there's more opportunities for him to land a pretty good shot on Ricky Simone here and KO him. So I'm going to go 3rd round KO for Yadong Song. I think Ricky Simone kind of tires out a little bit after he gets hurt early on trying to go for takedowns, and I can just see Yadong Song just KOing him in the 3rd round. Maybe not like a stiff or anything. I think he probably just hurts him and then puts him away, drops him and then puts him away with TKO shots. 58% Tapology has Ricky Simone in this matchup. I reckon this one might change. I think it'll go a little bit split, but I do think Yadong does get a KO in this matchup. 68% who did choose Yadong in this matchup do think he gets a KO here. Ricky Simone, 58%, 66% by decision. I just think if it does go to a decision, there's so many opportunities for Yadong Song to actually get a KO in this matchup. So I trust him there. Of course, Ricky Simone, just going into some of the bouts he's won, he's lost to Uriah Faber. I did think that fight got ended pretty early. Hurt Rob Font early on in that fight, but then started getting beaten up later on. Let's see, lost to, he lost to Uriah Faber. That one is pretty rough. Well, again, I just went over that. That one was kind of early, but he did beat Merab by submission. The only guy to beat Merab in the UFC, I believe. Yadong Song has some pretty decent wins as well. Lost to Kyler Phillips, though. So we'll see how this one goes. I thought he made it pretty competitive against Corey Sandhagen. I do think he gets it done against Ricky Simone by KO 3rd round finish in this matchup. So I'm going to go with Yadong Song. Slight underdog too. Another 3 underdog card I chose this week. We had a lot of underdogs last week, so we'll see how the underdogs go for this one. I do trust Yadong Song in this matchup. If you guys enjoyed the video, let me know who you guys think will win in the main event down below, and I'll see you guys